everyone, and welcome back to my channel, The Grim Reader. I am Kathy Grimm, The Grim Reader. I have been extremely busy with work and have not been able to make videos or watch videos much, but I did want to come on here and give you a little bit of an update anyway. And so the first one I just got started on, I was able to carve out about an hour or so to sit down and start reading slowly this. So this is it's like a typical work of a professor of German studies. I mean, typical in the sense that it's dense and it's original thinking on a subject that is fascinating to me, because I guess I'm still connected to German studies in the sense of wanting to read about it. And so, but it's very layered reading. So there's a lot going on in terms of everything, history, theory, etc. And I'm just getting started on it, but of course it's called The Dynastic Imagination, so it has to do with dynasties in a certain sense. But and I'm not going to give you a full, I've only read a few pages. I only got in that hour that I took, which I had to read slowly because I wanted to understand what's going on, and I'm a slow reader anyway, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know where I want to get better about. I wonder if other people have this problem when you're an episodic reader. I need to put little arrows as to where I finished, so I know where to go on, and there's even bookmarks you can get for that, which I really need. And of course I haven't done it here. I think I got to this heading anyway, but I wanted to read out one sentence where he kind of talks a little bit about what he's doing here at the very beginning. He's talking about someone that I'm not that familiar with. I mean, I've heard of him, of course. Spengler. Oswald Spengler wrote this book that was sort of trendy back in the 20s, or just after World War I, I guess, called in German Der Untergang des Abendlandes, and in English, The Decline of the West. Tell me if any of my viewers have heard or read this book. I vaguely remember my parents kind of reading it, and sort of because it was popular. I don't know why. And then he talks about that, and then he goes on talking about community or continuity and modernity. Spengler says we find not a people, a Volk, but a mass. Its incomprehension for anything traditioned by which it fights culture. So the mass fights culture. And anyway, going off of that down here, he's kind of just explaining a little bit what he's doing in his book, which is, this book likewise deals with ideas about family, not the shape of actual families take. Those appear, at least when it comes to the dynasty, strangely independent of actual lived practice. The Dynastic Imagination is not a book about the different ways of organizing families, even though some of the texts considered here will be about that. It is a book about different ways of making sense of family structures and about how these ways inform our broader sense of history. So kind of vague, but if you know anything about German literature, and my viewers do, you just kind of immediately go to things like the Buddenbrooks, or in my mind, I'm slowly making my way through this absolutely fantastic novel by Theodor Fontane, Before the Storm, which hones in on a lot of issues to do with Germany or identity, Prussian identity vis-a-vis the French. But it did kind of start out with this weird, almost Game of Thrones-like introduction to this family and how the history of the family and the dynasty, the Fitzewitzes, and what I've mentioned a couple of times how he connects the dynasty to the building, to the architecture, which I think is kind of cool. Anyway, so this, I even made a little footnote, posted in here saying something pretty basic just for myself. Reading this makes me think of Before the Storm, focusing on this idea of Stamm, which is, there's all these words for ancestry in German. Stamm, Geschlecht, so your house, your tribe, Sippe, and how those are placed within a certain geographical area, also a certain linguistic area. And this kind of idea of a line of, there's this term Ahnenreihe, so the line of ancestors and ancestry. Anyway, so I'm just at the very beginning, and I've had to step away from it for work reasons, but I think it's going to be a long-term thing that I dip into and read slowly, and I'll give you updates. That's that one. I'm still slowly making my way through this one. What page am I on here? 326. What's good about it is that it is really just, you know, they go from one place to the other and have little shindigs. I mean, there's not that much immediate plot. It's not like they're showing me, it's not battle scenes or anything, or it's kind of episodic in nature, and as I have said many times before, it takes place in only a few months. It is actually also very much a Christmas winter story. So if you're into seasonal reading, which I'm not really, maybe a little bit, it's very Christmassy. It's very Christmassy and wintry. There's descriptions of snow and stuff. That's that. Then I'm also slowly I am entrenched in the 19th century, you know, all the time right now. Making my way through the Chronic of Basset, which is still going well. It's suffered a little bit because it's contending now with a book that is one of those best books I ever read. And I didn't have any idea of this. And I should have. And I'm listening to it, but I'm dipping into it. And it's the absolutely amazing, in ways that is really hard to describe, Bleak House. Bleak House is one of the best books I've ever read, or I'm going to read. And I'm making a weird face because I'm not quite sure how to approach talking about it. I'm relying on people who know about Bleak House. And it's a very, I keep saying layered, but it really is like this deep, it's an archaeological dig, and you're digging into the layers of people and characters and where and how they live. And it's full of fantastic descriptions, and the narration is absolutely amazing. It switches between Esther, the sort of goody but nice lady who's guiding us and who's had a very sad but interesting life. But then it switches to a sort of omniscient narrator who's even more fascinating, because it's very sort of all-seeing, you know, seeing all of the people doing their things, and opium, and the stationery guy with all his little bits of stationery. And of course it's all connected to the court case of Jarndyce and Jarndyce. And I'm listening to it narrated by Simon Vance, and I am just flabbergasted by how amazing it is. It's in a different league, even from Trollope. And you know, I mean, I love David Copperfield, but there's something even, and I don't know quite how it fits in with Dickens' genre, or Dickens overall. I just kind of went into it blind, and I'm obsessed. And I will get back to you with more details. It's such a hard book to sort of even talk about the plot, because it's almost one of these books where the plot is there, but it's all about descriptions of people, and how the big thing for me is how the court case is almost a living entity. It's like this monster that devours, in a certain sense, and it gets into people's psyche and changes them for the not good. And that's amazing. And he's just done such a great job. And I mean, wow. So yeah, who knew? One of those ones. So yeah, Bleak House, highly recommend. Have you read it? Listening to it is great. And then dipping into it here. I think reading it would be probably even better. But it would take me, I mean, you know, this is the only way I can sort of get through. And I'm very slow, you know. I've been talking about this for, you know, this started in October. And we're getting into December almost. But I don't care. This is the way I read. I almost had this thought of just turning my channel into a complete 19th century channel. But then I don't want to do that. Because, you know, occasionally I do like to read other things. I don't want to limit myself. I do still have the Prairie Fires on the docket. It's kind of languishing a little bit. And I do have the other two books that I had pulled out for nonfiction, which are also, well, one of them's the encyclopedia. So, you know, I can just dip into that now and then and tell you an entry. And I haven't had any time to do the Laura Ingalls Wilder project, which I'm still I might still do, but I might sort of get interested in other things. I am really looking forward to Break. I keep telling myself I'm not going to do Vlogmas because I've done it twice, and I don't even know why I get lured into wanting to do it. It's kind of strange. I think it's sort of the challenge. And then last year, what happened when I did it is that my numbers, and not that the numbers matter that much, but, you know, a little bit, you do kind of look at them. They went down during Vlogmas, and it was just extremely demoralizing to keep doing it every day and having people unsubscribe. Not in a big way, but in enough of a way to just make you want to quit. I mean, doing that at least. The year before was sort of the other way around, and there were people who came in and watched. I mean, the only way I could foresee it is very, very casual dip-ins every day, kind of like this, like little mini chats every day. Not footage necessarily. Or, you know, shorts. Although, I don't know, how do you feel about shorts? I wanted to ask people this. The one thing, I don't mind them, but I don't like how when you go to your channel, they're right there next to the normal ones. I wish they were sort of separate. And on the phone, I think they're separate, but when you go to your one on the computer, it's all together, and it's kind of annoying, because then you have shorts. I don't know, it's a category mishmash that I don't really care for. Yeah, and stationery stuff, I actually have a little bit more there to tell you, just kind of my journey with this new little notebook that I'm having, which is really interesting for me. I'm easily amused by things. Other than that, that's enough of an update for me. I'm just really busy right now, but I'm also looking forward to a nice break at Thanksgiving, and then a little bit more work, and then a big break over the break at Christmas time. Hope everyone's doing well, and let me know how you feel about Trollope, Dickens' Bleak House, and yeah, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure no one's reading The Dynastic Imagination, which is by the Stanford professor who's on Twitter. Oh, speaking of Twitter, one last thing. I've gone over to Mastodon. I'm still on Twitter, but you know, I've been tooting on Mastodon, as we call it, a little bit. It's a completely different experience, but it's cool and interesting. So maybe I'll drop my Mastodon address in the show notes if anyone's interested in following me there. I haven't had a lot of chance to. I've seen a couple of booktubers, Kazan's on there, and yeah, so that's kind of interesting too. Check in with you pretty soon. Thank you all for watching. Bye bye for now.